Hey everybody, it's Zafir from No Love Lost 2.0. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? I have not podcasted in the last few weeks. My wedding's coming. I've been so busy, but I have definitely wanted to get back on here and talk to everybody because I definitely miss what I do and I'm not going anywhere. No Love Lost 2.0. We are in season 4 and we are back. So I want to talk about, I did an episode like this on a podcast before called Age Gap, but I recently was talking to one of my best friends, Moses, and me and him were having a conversation about, age gaps in relationships and how does it affect a relationship and how a relationship maneuvers. So he was sitting here saying he doesn't believe that, basically an older person being with a younger person is manipulation. But I tried to break it down to him like, you can have that viewpoint, and I'm not going to tell you you're wrong, but there's another viewpoint that everybody that's your age is not the person for you. Everybody that is your age is not going to align with the values or the things that you want in life. So you have to be realistic about it, that thinking that because of an age that you're going to meet somebody and they're going to be the same age as you and they're going to be in the same mindset as you. That's not true. People are at different phases in life, and what happens is, what we fail to realize is that we have to allow them to live their life. If you sit up here and condition people to only dating people their age, a lot of people wouldn't be happy. Now, I'm not sitting here saying date somebody that is a whole child. I'm not saying that, like, date like a whole 18-year-old and you 80. But if you did, that technically would be your business. No diddy. So it's just like, what people got to understand is that you can't condition somebody to the age that they were the age that they are to be with somebody that is the same age as them. So I was like, well, why do you feel like it's manipulation if an older person dates somebody younger? Just because they may have more life experience doesn't take away the fact that they may have something to contribute to that person's life to change the trajectory of how their life goes in a positive way, as well as it could be negative, as well as dating somebody younger could change an older person's life in a negative way as well. Love is a gamble. Love, there is no guarantee. I always tell people that there is no guarantee in love. It's a gamble. It's literally anything could happen. Everybody has been through something where either they've been cheated on, they've been the cheater, or the relationship didn't work because there was a breakdown in communication. But that happens at all ages and all phases of life. There's a reason why people will be together 30 and 40 and 20 years and sit up here and get divorced and realize that they were not living happy years most of their life, but they stayed with a person based on the condition of it was comfortable, it was safe. So I definitely feel like we have to take into account that everybody is not in the mindset of dating somebody their age, and that's okay. Like me and my husband, we have an age gap. I'm 8 years older than him, and I say that from, this is my first, this is my only marriage. In the sense I'm married now, but but I have the mindset that this is the only person I've ever dated that was younger than me. I've never dated somebody younger than me. Anybody I've ever been in a relationship with or even interacted with on a dating level was my age, either a year older, a year younger, or the same age. And I think that it worked. But obviously it didn't work because I ain't with none of them. So it just ended up working out where I ended up meeting somebody, and I was apprehensive about dating my husband because I was just like, oh wow, he's younger than me. I don't know how this looks. But then you got to take into account, who cares how it looks? Who cares? We were both adults. We are both adults. I'm 34. He's 25. He'll be 26. We started dating, I believe, when he was 21, but we were talking when he was 20. And because I met him in April, his birthday's in May. So we met like a month before his birthday or whatever the case may be. And like I had told my friend, I said, unfortunately, for people who don't have the experience of being in relationships, it's not that you can't have an opinion, but your opinion comes from where? It comes from no actual history or no actual living in the situation. It comes from a mindset of what you think a relationship is supposed to be like. And like I had told my friend, I said, I love you, friend. I said, but you have never been in a committed relationship. And even and that may be a good thing, because I tell people relationships are not all that they cracked up to be. It's not all what you see on social media of people living happy lives, taking pictures. We argue, we have disagreements, we have conversations, sometimes hard, but we decide if we choose to pull through or not. But that's a decision. That's a conscious decision to pull forward. So I try to remind people that you have to remain focused. You have to remain um, diligent when you sit up here and get in these relationships with people, and realize that sometimes it's okay to date and have fun, like in the sense of just getting to know people without the full-blown commitment, because sometimes you'll realize that that may not be the person for you, or you know what, nobody else attracts your attention like they do, and that can be a positive thing, you know? So I had told my friend, I said, well, if you sit up here and condition yourself to only being with somebody your age, you may miss out on somebody that may be what, 2 years younger than you, 2 years older than you. I said, it may be the person that actually is going to love you the way you have always desired to be loved. But you will only know that experience if you choose to. I'm not saying they're wrong. If they only want to date somebody their age, they have that right. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't think nothing is bad about that. But we also have to understand that everybody is not going to be in alignment with your mindset, meaning that people are not going to see the value that you have for them if you only condition it to an age, because sometimes older people ain't shit and sometimes younger people ain't shit. There is no age gap to an ain't shit person. It's just facts. There is no age gap to a person who does not care about you or does not know how effectively to communicate. There's a reason why there's a lot of men in their 40s and 50s, or women in their 40s and 50s, and they look at their partner 20 and 30 years later and look at you like, wow, you know what? I conditioned myself to get comfortable with you. So that's what made me like you, versus me actually liking you in the sense of wanting to build with you. I end up building with you based off the condition of being comfortable with you. And that can come at any age. That does not say at 20 or at 30 that you're going to find something perfect. Everything that you want in life takes work. Regardless of how the work is done, it takes work. And if you want a relationship to work with a person, age difference or not, it all accounts to how you communicate with that person and how that person cares about you and your heart, and vice versa. You know, you have to be open-minded to the fact that everything that you want in a person is not going to always align with reality. You know, sometimes people don't understand that reality is one thing that you may think, and then it could be a whole nother situation. You know, and like I even said to my friend, I said, listen, when I got with my husband, we were talking, we were having conversations, we were getting to know each other. He did one thing in the talking phase that I didn't like, and I cut his ass off. I blocked him. I stopped picking up his calls. I wasn't talking to him no more. And I told him, no, I'm good on you. It took him, I think, about a week. I don't know if it was 2 weeks or about a week and a half before he finally got through to me on the phone. And when we finally spoke, I was like, yeah, what you gotta say? You know, I was like, yeah, what you gotta say? And you know, and he apologized for what he did or that I didn't like or whatever the case may be. And I was like, all right, cool, cool, cool. I'll let you know. I was like, I'll let you know if we can work something out or if we can keep talking. But there was no guarantee. And then my friend was like, oh, well, you know what? I feel like if a younger person goes after an older person, that the older person should tell them, no, you should go find somebody your age. I said to him, like, do you hear yourself? Like, sometimes I want to say to my friend, like, do you really hear yourself, brother? Do you hear yourself? Because that same mindset, as you get older, he's 28 now. And I had told him, I said, as you get older, I said, you like messing with people who are considered twinks or young looking. I said, and you're 28 years old. What would you say to somebody that was 20 years old that you tried to hit on them and they would say, oh, wait, you're too old. You're almost 30. Like, my friend has a big hiccup on age and a big hiccup on a lot of things. And I always try to encourage him to not feed into what society says is right, but to find his own thinking versus just believing what is put into society to believe one thing is wrong. So that was a big conversation we had. And like I told him, he was like, oh, I love that I can have this conversation with you. I said, I don't take offense to shit, because at the end of the day, I live my life with the person that I choose to live it with. And that's for anybody. Whoever you choose to be with in life, that's your business. If you put your business out there for the world to hear, then everybody's going to have an opinion, and that's your own fault if you can't deal with the consequences of telling your business. But me, I know what my life is. I know what I've done. I know who I am, and I know who I've been with. And I know that I found value in the person I was with. And I was at first apprehensive because we were about 8 years different in age. I did take that into consideration, but I also understood that if this is what it was supposed to be, I was just going to see where it went. And here we are almost 5 years later. Yeah, almost 5 years later, because we met in April of 2021, and it'll be 5 years. We've been married almost a year, which is crazy. I can't believe a year is coming up already as of January. But God is good, and you have to realize that what works for some may not work for you, and what works for others may work for them, and it may not work for you, or it may work for you. But you have to be in control and considerate of thinking about the fact that everybody is not going to align with what you want and the values that you have for yourself. And that comes with a partner's age as well as with their wisdom and communication. Sometimes you have to tell people, listen, if you do something that makes me feel disrespected, these are going to be the consequences. And I have to let you know that. And I don't feel like that's allowing a person to take advantage. No, that's setting the forefront to let them know that, listen, don't do this. And if you do decide to do it, I understand it. Even if it hurts me, I'll even respect it, because I'll know that you didn't respect me enough not to hurt me. Make sure you follow No Love Lost 2.0. You can stream this podcast on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, as well as YouTube. YouTube. And make sure y'all continue to show that love to the channel. Make sure you hit subscribe, like, and share, and hit that notification bell as well if you're on my YouTube, as well if you're on Spotify. And don't forget to what? Keep showing that love. One.